Dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to the analysis of YOLENO TV. I'm glad you're well from wherever you're watching this channel. Now, after listening to AZIMIO One Kenya Alliance press statement and also going through the details of the letter that was shared by the ODM party on their Twitter handler, I have come to the realization that all is not lost for the AZIMIO. On Sunday, like I said in my previous analysis, the statements by Raila Amolo Odinga could have come prematurely. But this statement this statement that ODM party released on their Twitter handle has sought to clear the air, and I think this is a major comeback by the AZIMIO. Like I said in my previous analysis, the people within the Kenya Kwanza have taken the narrative of bipartisan by far. They have gone to an extent of belittling it, making it look less important, and I've shared it in my previous analysis. But if you look at the statement that has been shared by the ODM, and I'm going to read this statement for you. This statement is akin to what happens in a football match. Most of the time, when you can't score, you find yourself that you're in a position that you can't score. Unafanya nini as a player? You retreat. And then you plan for a major comeback. So I think this AZIMIO statement is probably what you can refer to as a major comeback in a football match. Allow me to read this statement for you so that we can get something out of it, because I've realized that there is the way the priorities of these issues have been arranged. I think this is now all going to augur well with Kenyans. But before I read this statement, ladies and gentlemen, perhaps if you're viewing this channel for the first time, take a moment and subscribe. You can hit the notification bell. You can also give us a like so that this video gets shared globally. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to read this statement for you so that we can get the exact picture of what AZIMIO One Kenya Alliance is all about. So these are the deliberations of AZIMIO leadership since last Sunday. So this is the message. This is how it started. This has been a meeting of the AZIMIO leadership to deliberate further on the development since last Sunday. The meeting reiterated our commitment to the envisaged dialogue between the parties. It further reiterated our determination to see all our core issues on the table as follows. So the first issue, addressing the cost of living. This meeting agreed that high cost of living is urgent and cannot wait. On to the second point, audit of servers. This meeting agreed that auditing of 2022 election servers is necessary and urgent. On to the third point, reform and the constitution of IEBC. This meeting agreed that electoral reforms are urgent and necessary for future elections. On to the fourth point, fidelity to the letter and spirit of multi-party democracy is in Parliament. Now, we also touched on other areas, including composition of bipartisan committee, implementation of the recommendations, and involvement of leaders outside Parliament. It is the reason for this meeting that a purely parliamentary process may not serve the intended ends. Our suggestion is to have a conversation at the national level through a process akin to the 2008 National Accord. To this end, the coalition proposes a team drawn from its ranks both in Parliament and outside Bunge. We emphasize that all the issues we have laid out in public carry equal weight to us, although high cost of living must be addressed urgently. In this regard, we resolved that the regime must take immediate steps to bring back the cost of unga to 100 shillings at the time of the election. We further resolved that Kenya Kwanza must take immediate steps to lower the cost of fuel and put a freeze on the recent increase in cost of electricity. These are not matters for a committee. Further, we have resolved that the state must immediately take up the cost or waive all the medical bills of the victims of police brutality, including journalists, and the last expense costs of these who lost their lives. Finally, we assure our people and Kenyans that our eyes are firmly on the ball and reiterate that we shall go back to the people as the early sign of lack of seriousness by the other side, Azimio One Kenya Alliance. I want to underscore a statement here. One of the points that the Azimio issued, which makes a lot of sense, is this high cost of living that is given priority. This is now a plus to the Azimio plan. Initially on Sunday, that was not given priority, and I could sense that it was going to fail. But this statement has sought to clear the air, and I think this is putting the Kenya Kwanza people in a very awkward position, because they are taking the narrative of bipartisan debate too far. And the Azimio has given that as a last priority, bipartisan thing. Though the fact here remains that it is not going to be what Kimani Ichung'wah is proposing or advocating for, whereby the bipartisan approach is going to be like debate in parliament. What the Azimio brigades are calling for is something akin to the national accord. And I agree with them, because surely if it's something that is involved in the national, it's a national agenda, this is something that should be treated like the national accord. We've seen how in Bunge this parliamentarians debate. Most of the time they take things, most of the time they treat things with a lot of contempt. The way we saw Kimani Ichung'wah address this issue, the way we saw people like Sudi talk about it, the way we saw people like Wetangula said that first of all Raila mpaka aseme Ruto ni legitimate president kwanza ndio to discuss, and that is a national speaker. The way we saw them, where we saw Susan Kika talk about this, Susan Barire, so these leaders have been belittling the narrative of bipartisan approach, because Raila Amolo Odinga supported it. Now it's like they're trying to make a bout on it. The only person whom we saw probably try to be silent about this matter is Gachagua. Gachagua has not talked about this bipartisan approach, but the people like Ndindi Nyoro, I think these are people whom Gachagua has sent to come and badmouth the issue, badmouth Raila Amolo Odinga, talk ill about the plan of bipartisan. So I think this approach by the National Accord, which will involve now parliamentarians and local leaders who are not in parliament, will be a very good approach. And in fact, if the narrative or if the idea of fronting Martha Karua is true, then I think the Azimio have made a very, very good selection, because we know Martha Karua as being someone who understands the law and is a no-nonsense kind of leader. That's why she acquired the title Iron Lady. So I think Azimio now has a good plan. This plan must work. If at all Ruto is serious about the issue, then Ruto should adopt this, and I think there's no need for the Kenya Kwanza people to come up with another plan. The plan here is very simple. And I think if I look at number two talks about audit of servers. And this is okay, because I remember Raila Amolo Odinga's statement on Sunday when he said he wants elections to have meanings. That is correct. Elections must have meanings. What I put to the ballot when I cast it, my vote when I cast it, should reflect at the Bomas of Kenya. My voice should be heard at the Bomas of Kenya, and that means that the people should feel that they're part and parcel of formation of any government. I agree with Raila Amolo Odinga. So the audit of servers will create that morale, will create that enthusiasm within Kenyans that we should vote because our voice will always be heard. But if we reach the point where by now servers determine who the president is supposed to be, by simply tweaking a bit the logical flaws and the algorithm favoring a particular individual, that is, you get a president based on what you can offer on the table, money issue. So I think this audit of server is a very, very important aspect here. So the issue of reform and constitution of IEBC, this is also okay, because when Ruto decided to appoint those individuals for that formation of a new IEBC phase, I think that was pretty biased, and it's like he was the one who was only in charge to call the referee who would referee in a match that William Ruto was going to participate in. That was not going to be okay. So I think this is a very good thing. And then there's a multi-party democracy in parliament. Of course, that's a very important thing. So ladies and gentlemen, I give a plus to this plan. The deliberations by the Azimio One Kenya Alliance, I give them a huge plus. Ladies and gentlemen, share with us what you think about this. And I don't want to talk much about this, but this was a letter that was shared that was retweeted by Edwin Sifuna, who is the Secretary General of ODM and a key person who holds a very important role in AZIMIO. So ladies and gentlemen, kindly share your thoughts below the comment section. And once again, I'd like to urge you to stay safe and stay blessed until we catch up again in our next analysis.